Nelson.
Mr. President, this bill deals with student privacy. Students at the institutions run by our Board of Higher Education. During the last election, there was quite a uprising on several campuses when students found out that their private information that they thought was exempt was indeed given to someone for campaign purposes. They were not happy. So we got a bill in GVA that tried to amend an existing piece of code. We were not able to write it properly, and so the amendment adds a new section to the code that basically says all emails, both personal and institution issued, home address, postal address, that's mailing address, current mailing address, and telephone numbers of a student enrolled in the university under the supervision of the board will be exempt. Now, exempt is not the same as confidential. You can opt in or out of something that is exempt, and so if a student wanted all their information available, they could so indicate. We're not fooling ourselves. Most people can find that information using other pieces of data going in to check on students. And so basically the amendment to this bill is what I just read to you, including all emails, home address, local address, telephone numbers being exempt records. And then I'll explain the rest of the bill on the 11th order.
Further discussion? Hearing none, the question is on the proposed amendment to Senate Bill 2133. As many senators as are in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The amendment is adopted. To the 11th order, Senate Bill 2133, now as amended. Madam Secretary.
Engrossed Senate Bill 2133, a bill for an act to create and enact a new section to Chapter 44 of the Century Code relating to exempting addresses and telephone numbers of students from open records requirements.
Senator Nelson.
Mr. President, the current law dealing with electronic mail addresses, home addresses, mailing addresses, and telephone numbers being exempt is 4404-18.21. It deals with anybody who calls into the university on anything communicating, any individual communicating with a public entity. That could include you. And it would keep those types of things available, exempt. But the question was, what electronic mail address? Is it the one that the student gave when they enrolled? It was a Hotmail or a Gmail address? Was it another one that somebody, well, I guess they would say, was it the one that the university had on record from the time that the student enrolled in the university? Now there's a number of us who have changed our email addresses over the years, so which one is it going to be? Is it one of them? Is it all of them? There was this question. However, the students did not want any of that information given out to people that they did not approve. Therefore, if they're made exempt, if they want to make it available, they can say so. If they don't, they just leave it as is, and it's automatically exempt, and the Board of Higher Education is responsible for keeping that private. Your GVA committee gave this a do-pass recommendation, and we hope you will too.
Senator Nelson. Nice work. The president wanted to hear more. No, my apologies. Senator Holmberg.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, I find this a very interesting bill, and I find the comments of the carrier of the bill also very interesting. One of the points she made was that the students didn't want to have these messages coming from political candidates, so they asked to be exempt. Well, neither do I want these messages, but I don't have that opportunity. I believe, Mr. President, that we should vote no. I believe that students who live in our communities, should have the same level of exposure to our political missives as anyone else who is living there and possibly voting in those districts. So I would hope that we would vote no on 2133.
Senator Judy Lee.
Mr. President, a question for the carrier, and the question is whether or not there was any discussion in the committee about security, and I guess because I'm involved with some domestic violence activities at home in trying to prevent them. We know that it's not good for certain identifying information to be public if somebody has a protection order out against an individual. We don't want to. This is obviously a very limited number of people, but I just wondered if there was any chat about that in the committee.
Senator Nelson, do you wish to answer the question?
Yes, Mr. President. Yes, there was a little bit of discussion concerning that, but more so a discussion that if all records were exempt for anything to be released, the student would have to allow that to happen. And as for the comments from the senator from District 17, the objection was not that they did not want to get information. They had a right to get that. If they want to opt out and say to the local party, yes, send me all your stuff, they could. But they didn't want the whole list of every student in the university system released to an ad agency to get inundated with information. This was the cause of the problem.
Further discussion. Senator Cook.
Mr. President, just shed a little bit more light on the testimony we heard. This particular ad agency sent out 96,000 emails to 48,000 individuals. Each one got 2 emails. In the email that came the ability to get your name taken off the list. Out of those 96,000 emails, there was 120 requests to get their name taken off the list.
Further discussion. Hearing none, the question is on the final passage of Senate Bill 2133. Would the Secretary please open the key? All senators record your vote. All senators have voted. Any senator wishing to change their vote? Secretary, close the key. Final tally on Senate Bill 2133 reveals 20 senators voting yea, 26 senators voting nay, 1 senator absent and not voting. The bill is lost. Back to the 6th order. Senate